Hey Wes, John Moeller here, just looking to review the data that we collected from Friday when we did our sessions at Harris Hill Road in your Toyota GR86. Um, Obviously had a great day. Definitely saw some massive improvement out of you. Gonna just run through a little bit here just to kind of show you what I saw as far as progress. So we started out at 925 on the left-hand side here. This is our first session that we did together. And if you take a look, right, we're seeing lap times initially as you're sorting the track out, anywhere from 149 down to 146, 155. So then clearly on this lap, your seventh lap, you started to get a feel for things. We were able to cut that time down to 141, and then finally you finished with a best lap of 140.401. We can compare that to your follow-up laps. This was your final session that we were out there. We did that at 11:52. You can take a look. You had some really nice consistency here early on with putting out 136s, 136s. And then if you recall, we kind of took a step back, and that's when we started doing the 156, the 148, the 144. These were you starting to where we took a step back, just kind of took it easy, started to let things settle in, started to work on timing and where we were going to do certain things, braking, downshifting. And so we took that step back and we saw those lap times climb back up into the 140 range. And then obviously started seeing a significant drop where we ran two 135s at the end of that session. So basically, depending upon what you want to count, that's at least a 5-second improvement over what we were running when we first started the day. So definitely, definitely a massive improvement in lap times, and I definitely hope you're happy with that. Now we're going to bounce over. What we're going to do is we're going to analyze the differences between your two fastest laps from each session, or fastest lap, I should say, from each session. So we've got the 135.123 compared against the 140.401. The data that we were able to gather from your ECU, I'm pulling lateral acceleration, which came off the GPS. We've got our throttle position sensor and our GPS speed. Unfortunately, I need to play around with the ECU settings because I'm pretty disappointed that we weren't able to get RPM at a minimum. Usually I'm able to pull RPM as well as the brake pressure sensor, and those become two very valuable points of data because we can get a great understanding of what's happening with your inputs on the controls. Steering angle is also one that I can sometimes get. Regardless, we still have some good data here, and I think you're going to have a pretty clear understanding of what was happening and where you made the gains. So obviously, speed is a massive component. Taking a look at how fast we're going makes that has a major impact on our lap times. The faster you go, the lower your lap time. So I'm just going to, oops, there we go. Change the view here a little bit because we can actually get a nice view of the track here. We'll give you an idea of where you are as you're running through. I think the GPS is usually pretty accurate within here, so we can get a slightly good understanding of what's happening with the lines. But it's not always 100% accurate. But we'll take a look and see how this all flows together for you. We've got our time comparison here. This is kind of interesting. So this is nice. It gives you an idea of where you're gaining time on yourself versus the prior lap. So if you take a look there, it's basically you're gaining time over the entire lap, obviously, but you're also doing it really consistently. So effectively what happened is you're just carrying more speed almost everywhere in that lap. So we'll start out, we've got our front straightaway here. Obviously You made big improvements there. We've been trying to carry a fair amount of throttle through there. Taking a look at that throttle, you can see that you back off you back off from 100% throttle right here. This is our throttle position sensor. You start backing off relatively early there. You're about midpoint in that straightaway where you're doing a slight lift. In order to get that front end tuck, we start dropping speed because you're steering into the corner. And then what I like to see here, and the reason you were faster later in the day is you started picking that throttle back up, giving it a nice little blip, giving us a little bit more speed here. You can see the variation here, the delta here. You're at 10 miles an hour difference. That's massive. That's really huge. And then you get up all the way to 12 miles an hour just before entering into that tight left-hand hairpin, which is turn 10. Again, going through turn 10, I'm seeing some really good brake effort here. You're getting on those brakes hard, smooth. You drop that right down. And if you notice, your minimum speed in both spots or on both laps was about the same. So you're dealing with 38 miles an hour. One thing I'm really liking, I really like to see here is on your first lap, you can see a dip in the throttle, right, where you gave up throttle. And instead on your faster lap, you went to 100% throttle and you held that for quite a while, other than the upshift that you made right here. That downshift that you made here, and it looks like this was your rev match right here, just to call that out. But the upshift that you made here and that the downshift, so the shift into the third definitely got you better acceleration. We lose a bit when we make that shift, but you're still your speed is consistently higher than it was when we were staying in fourth gear. I'm also liking the fact that we're seeing a higher entry speed here. That's something that we're working on, and actually a little bit more confidence on that throttle right there. So good stuff. That's where that speed's coming from. Coming through turn 8, that dam turn, we're carrying pretty similar speeds here between both laps, but what changes here, and you can see it, I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. Your confidence in the throttle, boom, spikes right back up. You're at 100% throttle as you exit that corner. I love seeing that nice smooth application where you're fighting for grip and trying to figure that out. And then boom, right up 100% throttle. You're using 100% throttle right to when you got to hit that braking point and you turn that car in for turn 7. Again, noticing the difference right here. We've got 3 more miles an hour here. So you're carrying a little bit more speed into the entry. Again, solid braking in both. If you take a look at the rate of deceleration here, this is what we like to see, right? You're getting more confidence on those brakes. It's just a sharp transition to the brakes and boom, you drop that speed off. And you can see this is a little bit more rounded, so less confidence on those brakes. The other nice thing to see here is you're carrying a little bit more speed through mid-turn. Very good move here. And you're catching that downshift. I'm pretty sure that the spike on the throttle position right here, that's your downshift to third. And then again, you can see that with that downshift, you're gaining a little bit more speed exiting the corner. And then we've got the little bit of lag from having to make that shift, but then we're right back at it. And you're carrying more speed going into coming through turn 6 and coming through turn 5. I'd actually like to call out turn 6 because you're making that shift right there. This is really good. This is definitely solid here, Wes. What I'm seeing here is you made that downshift and then mid corner turn 6. You're at 100% throttle. So you're really starting to find some confidence there versus here. I suspect you lost well, actually what was happening here is you were hitting that straightaway, and I was giving you a little bit of input here early on telling you that we need to use the straight as a point to accelerate. You clearly learned that lesson right here. We got 100% throttle all the way leading into turn 5. So very good move there. And again, you even carried more speed into there. So another 4 miles an hour going in there, 95 versus 91, really good sign. Again, pretty good confidence on those brakes. We're dropping that speed. And again, you got just a little bit more speed mid corner here. It's showing up as 48 and 48, 47, 49. So you've got 2 miles an hour that you entered that with. And then what I really like to see is coming up the hill, we saw a little bit of input on that throttle. And then again, coming over that hill, you managed to get 6 miles an hour coming up over there. It's a great place to gain some speed. It's going to be fun to compare that to my lap that I set down, because I'll show you the difference there and what I was doing. But then we get some braking as we're coming through the corner. And then from there, I'm starting to see that throttle application again. Obviously caught a downshift here again, because we can see that shift point, but you're accelerating pretty hard through here. And then coming over, I'm actually wondering if traction control was pulling off our acceleration a little bit, because if you look here, you're getting really good drive out of third gear here. So it's interesting. It might be that traction control was giving a little bit of pullback on that throttle. But again, still, you managed to come up with, for however long this distance was, probably at least 100 meters. You had 5 miles an hour, 4 to 5 miles an hour over your early lap time. So really good to see that there. Coming into the back straight here, I love seeing this. You're developing more confidence on the brakes, right? Braking later. So you're actually carrying way more speed into that braking zone, which is fantastic. Look at that, 12 miles an hour. That's a massive amount of speed, and you're gaining a lot of time by doing that. And then I'm seeing a nice solid input on those brakes down to, you're coming down to that turn-in point here for the turn 3 to turn 2 transition. And then your mid-corner speed is a little bit higher on your fast lap, which is good. But then again, you're exiting, going to the throttle with more confidence here. See that gap up to 100%, like probably 20 meters earlier. I mean, that's awesome. That's great. And then also you're finding confidence here. I guarantee at the apex here on your earlier laps, you're releasing the throttle and dropping down, right? You've only got 34% throttle here. I'm guessing that your throttle position sensor maxes out around 95, which is why it looks like right here, you're flat on the floor, which is great to see. So really good confidence there. And that's giving you a significant boost on the amount of speed that you're carrying through there. We're looking at 74 to 80 miles an hour. So you've got 5-6 miles an hour on yourself through that whole straightaway, which is a massive gain. If you're carrying 6 miles an hour more, that's what results in a 5-second gain. So overall, massive improvement. Seeing some really good time out of you here. Again, this is just, we need to grab some more track time, get you a little bit more experience, and we'll get you faster. So that said, I do want to pull up, let's take a look here, the 132 that I ran with Andy. And then I'm going to move this down slightly, hopefully. Let's take a look here. Give it to me. Boom. And there we go. All right. So I'm going to pull off your slowest lap, which was that 140. So now we've got a comparison between my fastest lap and your fastest lap. And we can see the difference in times here. A couple things that I'll call out, right, is if you see, it's interesting, but I'm not carrying quite as much throttle mid-corner here as you are, but I am carrying it longer. So I give a short lift here in order to get that front end to turn in. And then I'm carrying a little bit more throttle mid-corner, which actually all along gives me more speed. So I'm seeing 91 miles an hour here, while you're seeing 84, 85. And then I think, so 90, 91. Yeah, all right. So I was able to pull 91 miles an hour off through there. So just saying, we can carry a little bit more speed. That's in that turn 11 coming through there. I actually want to take a look to see if our lines are pretty similar, but the one thing I want to call out is if you take a look, I was kind of pushing this. So I was getting pretty hard braking through here and then coming in tighter to get to that apex. And what you're going to see from that, I think, is that, so I carried a little bit more speed mid corner right here. So if you take a look, right, mid corner just before the apex, I'm at 44, you're at 38 miles an hour. That's a pretty big gap. But then at the track exit, frankly, you and I are pretty evenly matched, 59, 59, boom, boom, boom. I carried the rev line, or I carried that throttle input just a little bit longer. So I likely brought the revs up another 100, 200 RPM. And then that gave me a slight advantage here. I also entered into the dam turn, that sweeping right-hander, carrying a little bit more speed. And I managed to just carry a little bit more speed all the way through there. It's just experience and a little bit more confidence on my entry speed, as well as just mid-corner speed, right? So I'm able to get some time there with the 3 miles per hour. If you take a look, I've got a little bit, the rate of deceleration here, I think indicates that I'm a little bit firmer on the brakes there as well. Here you can kind of see I actually managed to outbrake you a little bit going into turn 10 as well. So we definitely want to work on finding confidence on those brakes for you, but definitely good stuff. Exiting, one of the things, right, is exiting the dam turn. You can see I go on the throttle a little bit earlier than you. So it's really a matter of boiling down to timing. We need to just work a little bit longer or a little bit more on finding the timing and pushing those limits a bit. Here, I carry, if you take a look at our peaks are slightly different. I think I peak just a little bit later than you in terms of when I commit to the brakes going into turn 7. And so as a result, I get a little bit more speed there. And then if you see, I'm braking a little, probably about as hard as you do into there. I actually go a little bit slower than you initially, and I'm doing that in order to be able to get down to that apex. I'm giving up a little bit of speed there. I think if you see, you go a little bit wide, but once I get there and get on it, I'm then able to exit with a little bit more speed here. Although what's interesting is you actually, that overlap there, I think that you were actually able to carry a little bit, you exited with a little bit better speed than I did, if I'm looking very close at that. Maybe not. It looks like it's very similar. I think my shifts might be quicker than yours. And that's why there's less of a gap here, or there's a gap that increases here. I think I was able to make the shift quicker. If you take a look, I do lift for the shift there and then get the car in gear and get it rolling. So just gaining a little bit of time there, trying to explain the differences in our lap times. Here, heck of a lot more speed going down that straightaway. If you take a look, I am going to the throttle. I'm going to the throttle earlier at exit, although I do admittedly at there, I went a little bit too early, because you can see there's a drop in the throttle while you're actually at 100% here, but then you dropped out a little bit as well. So that's kind of interesting. Both of us, what this tells me is both of us went to the throttle a little bit too early because we weren't able to keep it down. Sometimes as a patient's corner, you got to be a little bit more patient before you go throttle, but then we're both flat on the floor, shift point, and then I carry throttle just a little bit longer than you, which allows me to get that extra 9 miles an hour over you here. And then again, dropping down here, my mid-corner speed is a little bit higher, so I'm just carrying through with a little bit more confidence than you on that speed. And then I wanted to call this out too. If you see coming up the hill, I carry that throttle a little bit longer. So right here, right, that's probably 10 meters, maybe, I'm not sure. It's 5 to 10 meters where I am in the throttle at 100%, and that gives me, again, a pretty significant gap on you, 63 miles an hour. So I got 6 miles over your 57. And then if you notice, this is kind of interesting, to be honest with you. I am going to say that I didn't do a very good job here because I dropped speed, and I am guessing that I got some rotation out of the car. I suspect that I got some rotation out of the car, and I wasn't able to lay the power down. If you notice, I go, interesting. Yeah, so you're going to the throttle earlier than I did here, which is actually like nicely done here. My laps weren't perfect, and so I suspect that I got some oversteer here, and I couldn't go to the throttle as early as you did. You went early, and that's really nice. So what's interesting is, right, is if we take a look here at where I gained time on you, I actually lost time against you through there. So if you take a look, I had a 2-second advantage on you, and then by the time I caught back up to you, okay, maybe not. Wow, so it does look like I was so through here, I was able to go faster than you for quite a bit, but then it flatlines. That's interesting. That's so what this is telling me, Wes, is that you were doing very well down that side straight leading into turns 3, 2, 1. So I want to call that out and give you credit for that. You actually managed to go in there a little bit later than I did on those brakes, and you carried 2 miles an hour more than I did at the finish of that, and you hit those brakes a little bit later. So that's a really good move. You're starting to get confidence under that, and picking up that confidence in those bumps. So after that bump, in order to get that braking done. Overall, really, really good job. Hopefully this is helpful and it gives you a little bit of data and some ideas on what to shoot for. I do think your car is probably capable of 130 and possibly faster. After analyzing my lap times, there's some work that I can actually do in here to go quicker. Both of us need to find a little bit more confidence. We need to hang on that throttle a little bit longer, and we also need to go to those brakes a little bit harder to bleed that speed off. In my mind, it's pretty clear that I can gain time leading into that 3, 2, 1. So coming off of that side straight, because you're doing very well here, I may be able to gain a little bit of time leading into turn 10 as well. I think that there's some speed for me to be had there, but it's all stuff we can work on when we get together again. But overall, great day, man. I appreciate working with you and really enjoyed the car. It's an awesome setup.